Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be providing a long-term market analysis for Elrond EGLD. I'll be covering some very key support and resistance levels to watch out for, some indicators, and then potentially where we could experience a longer-term bottom. So if you guys enjoy the content, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. Also, this channel is sponsored by FTX.us, which is my exchange of choice for buying, selling, and trading cryptocurrencies like EGLD. You can check them out in the link in the description below, and through my referral code SNOWYCRYPTO, you can get a 5% discount on your trading fees. Alright, so let's dive into the charts, and really first I just want to talk about this very strong resistance level ranging from $62 to $66. Now as you can see, if we go all the way back to 2021, we had more or less a triple bottom off of this area, holding this as support back in May, June, as well as July of 2021, and this is the area that we pivoted, turned around, and went on to new all-time highs. So you can also see that in the past few weeks we have had two retests of this level, both times holding as resistance, and we're having a third retest of this area. So it will be very important to see if we can actually come back above this level, reclaim it, and then hopefully flipping it into support. Now, if we can actually reclaim and hold this as support, then I'm going to be targeting this next level towards the $110 range. So as we can see, this is a very important level because if we go all the way back to 2021, once again, this was a very key area of support that we held back in February. We bounced off this level and then formed this second peak here. You can also see this was a rejection point where we essentially had this range high back in the same consolidation period, and we had two key rejections here, one in May and then one more in July. And then you can also see we briefly retested that back in January of this year. So if we're starting to break above this resistance level between $62 to $66, hold it as support, then I think we're going to be starting to trend up to this level and potentially retest that. Now, essentially what that would look like, just for some sort of illustration, is getting back above this, holding it as support, some sort of consolidation, and then from there we might be able to continue that trend all the way up to this next big resistance level, again at around $110. But there is still a very real possibility that we have yet another rejection here and then we continue back down. And in the event that something like that happens, if we're starting to come back down from this level, retest these lows, I do expect some sort of retest eventually of the $30 area of support. So this was a very key high back in July of 2020. We saw a pretty big rejection here off this level, and we retrace from this point about 80%. So a very strong and important rejection. You can also see that we held a little bit of resistance here back in December of 2020, and then we flipped it into support in January. So it's a very key and defined support resistance level. So if we're starting to reject off this area, come back down, I do expect this to hold as support. And from a longer term perspective, I do expect that we would eventually have some sort of longer term bottom formed off of this level in the event that we're retesting this. Now, obviously that doesn't have to happen. We could very likely come back up to this range around $110 and never retest this. But I do expect at some point we do have eventually a retest of lows, and if that doesn't hold, I think it's going to have a retest of the $30 area of support. And if we get that retest, I think that's where a logical bottom could be when looking at this from the longer term perspective. So I don't think the lows are in yet, but I think we're getting very close. And obviously from the current low in place, that would only be another 20% down, which does make sense. I think it aligns with a lot of other things I'm seeing with the rest of the market, with Bitcoin as well as Ethereum. Now, once again, I would like to see a bottom around the $30 region. Obviously, we don't have to go that low. Obviously, we don't have to retest this area that we already have a low in place at around $37. But for a longer term perspective, I think it makes a lot more sense to come down to this level, and then potentially from there we could form a longer term base. And when I'm talking about a longer term base, really what I mean is just going sideways, building up an accumulation zone, and just having a slow grind as opposed to going back up to some of these lower highs in the next week or so. So an example of what that would look like, again, is coming back down to this level, retesting it as support, going sideways, really not doing a lot of boring environments, and a lot of the the mania investors are gone. Then we start to filter out the noise, and we could start to have a slow grind all the way back up to some of those higher valuations towards the $200 range. But this is what I want to see in terms of structure. I want to see this in terms of, can we get a time where we just go sideways, we oscillate, we form a longer term accumulation phase, we have a longer term base, and we have a rounding off pattern that brings us into a new cycle. I think this is a lot more sustainable of a rally that we could have. It's a lot more suitable for a market bottom as opposed to what we've already got. Now, we could obviously have rallies all the way up, and we could have several variations of this where eventually maybe we have a retest of this level, we come back down, form that longer term base. You know, a number of possibilities could happen, but it's just a general trend of, you know, really filtering out the noise of the market, really filtering out all the mania, getting into this consolidation phase, going sideways for a longer term period. And let's just look at Ethereum just as an example of a case study in which last cycle we did see Ethereum have a longer term base where it just went sideways for a while. It didn't go back up to new all-time highs, and it just had this pattern here where once again it just kind of grinded sideways between $80 and $200 for several months. Okay, so this is a consolidation in the sideways phase I want to see. Obviously, we didn't go all the way back up to new all-time highs next month for the longer term bottom. We had this level around $80, and you can see 2 years later we had a retest of around $90. So clearly, if the bottom is in, you'll still have plenty of times to accumulate back down in these lower regions. But just for a longer term market analysis, I want to see this develop. I want to see this structurally happen. That could include a move back up to a brief retest of the $110 area of resistance, but over the long haul, that is what I'm looking for, and that is what I want to see. So I hope you guys did enjoy the analysis. If you want to show some support once again, you can leave a like and subscribe, as well as checking out the sponsors and the partners for this channel, ftx.us, in the description below. So as always, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.